Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the All About Us podcast where we dive deep into the stories that shape us, challenge us, and ultimately bring us closer together. I'm your host, Carl Allen, and today's episode is one that will stick with you. Our topic is proper response to any adversity in your life. And joining us is someone who knows this subject from the inside and out. Matt Potratz isn't just a survivor, he's a former elite snowmobile athlete, a motivational speaker, and an author, a family man, and someone whose story will blow you away. Matt, I'm truly honored to have you here. Let's dive in.
Let's do this, man. Thank you.
So, how are you doing today, Matt?
If I was any better, there'd be two of me.
That's great. That's great. Let's start with before the avalanche. Matt, things being here, let's start at the beginning. Can you take us back to the life before the avalanche? Who was Mike Potratz then?
Matt Potratz was a decent person. I was a good guy. I had a lot of friends, I had a lot of connections. I was laid back, but I was very successful in most of the arenas I was in. I was really successful in the business world. I was a general sales manager at a very successful high-level Toyota dealership selling new Toyota cars and trucks. And then on the side, I had a little side job. I was riding snowmobiles at a professional level for film companies that make the extreme backcountry movies, jumping off cliffs, climbing chutes, doing the crazy stuff. So I had kind of almost like accidentally advanced pretty far in that arena. I was probably top 15 or 20 in the world in terms of the snowmobile freeriders go. I was featured in 7 different snowmobile motion pictures, and one of the more elite ones in the field. And I've ridden with the top 5 guys in the world, and I've been around a lot. So
That's good. That's great. Can you walk us through what happened that day in March 2009? Do you actually remember anything leading up to the avalanche?
what's good is I have no memory of it at all. I have memory about 2 hours prior to the avalanche. Me and the group were having a snack on the ridge top. I was trying to repair some suspension problem my snowmobile was having. That's the last memory I have of the day. I don't remember. I climbed a couple more hills after that. I have no memory of that. I have nothing of the avalanche, nothing of seeing the hill, climbing the hill, falling down the mountain, which is great because I can't have PTSD or flashbacks because there's simply nothing to flash back to. So it's actually a blessing that I have nothing to cause that PTSD. So, but it was on film. I know it's me. I watched the movie happen. I see it happen. I know it's me. I just have no memory of it.
I suffer from PTSD, so you're lucky your mind doesn't really have anything to hang on to and group to concerning that experience. From the outside, surviving something like that is already, miraculous. But what did the fight for survival and recovery look like for you?
First of all, it was ugly. Like day one, I was flown to hospital via helicopter, and right on the helipad, they took the gurney out of the helicopter, and right there on the helipad, I died. I stopped breathing. They had to rush around, resuscitate me, got me breathing again, and pushed me to the ER to discover the avalanche had just crushed my body. They found a broken neck. D4, 5, and 6 were crushed. Compound fractured left finger, blew my left finger in half. There are bone fragments on the x-ray. Crushed left rib cage. It broke my top 2 left ribs off my sternum and then caved in my left lung, collapsed my left lung. And then somehow in the process, the biggest concern was that the force of the avalanche at some point, it took my helmet. I wore my chin strap just loose enough. It took my helmet up my chin, took the chin strap up my face, put abrasions at my face, ripped my helmet right off my head. So I bounced off a tree like a rag doll with no protection on my brain. And so they found hematomas on both sides of my brain, which of course is blood clotting, blood pooling on both sides of my brain. And so they told my family the first night, we're not going to spend the money to treat Matt's injuries because it doesn't appear he's going to survive the night. And so obviously by the grace of God, I survived the night, but the next day would hold what I would call like reality check. They had to determine, is there really any hope here? Because I was unconscious. I'd already died in the helipad once. I had no response to the world whatsoever. I was unconscious from the minute the avalanche happened. And so they do what's called painful stimuli because they determine my body's basically in a comatose state.
So you were intubated. You were intubated then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, all that stuff was in place. Yeah. And they do what's called painful stimuli, where they inflict pain in you, hoping you'll show some indication you're aware of that pain. because even in a comatose state, you should at least show some like flinch or shake or move or show some indication you're aware of that. So they began to do so, began to shake me and prod me and move me, and I showed nothing. And so they told my family, hey, it does not look good here, but I'm going to try one last thing. The doctor said, I'm going to hook a scan of Matt's brain. With the brain scan in place, I'm going to again inflict pain on him. And he said, if this scan is associated with some kind of response here, we're in trouble. He said, if there's any hope here at all, his brain has to respond to what we do, you know? And so they hooked the scan on my brain, began to again poke me and prod me, shake me, move me, and they got nothing from my brain. And the last thing the doctor did to confirm it, he picked up my broken leg, my shattered femur, not been treated yet, picked it up off the table a little ways, let it free fall, just dropped it, whack. So, I mean, that would cause extreme pain in a broken leg. And the scan didn't show anything to be excited about. So he marched out and told my family, he said, I'm sorry. He said, short of a miracle, Matt will not be with us anymore. He said, technically he's alive because the machine is breathing for him and therefore his heart is beating. But he said, outside of that, as near as I can tell, Matt is essentially brain dead. So, I mean, that was the initial prognosis, that I was brain dead. But my family just could not come to terms with that. My dad was a very, very strong man of faith. He just said, guys, I'm sorry. He said, Doc, I'm sorry. I just can't go there yet. I'm not willing to give up yet. I want a second opinion. In that time frame, phone calls, texts, emails went out across the nation and even across the world, because my mom's family happened to be world missionaries. They called them overseas and texted overseas and said, hey, pray. Matt's going to die. We got to pray. It's our only hope. Everyone's going to pray. And so my dad went down to the waiting area and got some of my closest friends together and went down to the room and laid hands on me, began to pray for me hands on. But about an hour and a half went by and they started to kind of accept, okay, this is probably reality. We probably better say our goodbyes. Like this is probably it, you know? But then a good friend of mine, John Heston, was in the room. He spoke up and said, guys, I don't know why, but I have this feeling like Matt knows we're in the room. Like I have a feeling like he knows we're here. Why don't we see what happens if we try to get him to respawn? So they agreed. And John eventually got me to he told me, Matt, John, if you can hear me, raise your right leg. I couldn't raise my leg, but to their shock, that moved. Like I clearly tried to move it. They're like, Trey, you tried. Let's try again. So they eventually got me to lightly squeeze a hand. And so it was a miracle, really was. I mean, an hour and a half earlier, the doctor had nothing for my brain, and now I was responding to a command. And they eventually got me to lightly squeeze the doctor's hand. But he met with my family later that day to just say, look, I know it's exciting. Matt's had some signs of life. I know it's exciting. He's had some response to command. But he said, look, you have to understand something. Matt's in a comatose state. He said, I have no way of knowing if he comes out. And he said, if he does, understand this, when he does, he will simply not be the same person you once knew. He said, there's hematomas on both sides of his brain on top of some minor asphyxia when I was buried for 6 minutes. And so he said he will not be the same person. He said, on top of that, looking at the scans of his spine, there's a very good chance he'll never walk again. And so my family had to watch me lay there in a coma, unconscious, living by assistance of machine for a long time. They weren't sure if I was ever coming out, but they never lost the faith, never stopped believing, never stopped praying, never stopped talking in my ear. 10 days in the coma, 10 days into it, something pretty incredible happened. They'll never be forgotten in my lifetime or theirs. I'm a daddy. I'm a father of 3 boys. And now I'm a father to 7 because I had married into more kids, and my wife and I had one together. Back then I had 3 boys. My boys are very young then. They're not allowed to see their dad yet because, as you can imagine, for young boys, seeing daddy hooked to tubes and hoses and wires and, oh, like it would have been scary, right? But they were told daddy got hurt real bad and just needs to sleep for a while. But thinking I was sleeping, they were told, we can pick up the phone though. We'll call your daddy. You can talk to your dad while he sleeps and see if he can hear you talk to him, right? They thought about that for a minute. My oldest boy, Connor, spoke up to say, no, we don't really want to call and talk to daddy. And their mom was like, kind of like, why? He said, because we want to call and sing to him. Here's why. Because before the avalanche, I was a musician, used to play guitar. I can't play guitar now. My left arm is totally paralyzed, so it doesn't work at all. So I can't play guitar, but I used to play guitar and sing, and my boys used to sing and dance with me. And it was pretty cool. But they loved to sing along best they could at that young age. Their favorite song to sing to was a song by Matt Redman called You Never Let Go. Of course, the song sings up, oh no, you never let go through the calm and through the storm. Oh no, you never let go, every high and every low. Oh no, never let go, Lord, you never let go of me. So they were told, we can pick up the phone and call your daddy. And Connor says, no, we want to sing them. They said, okay, what song should we sing? Connor said, our favorite song, Never Let Go. So they called me in a coma. They put a cell phone in my ear. My boys sang to me, You Never Let Go. Here's the incredible part. I really believe a miracle happened during that song, because at that moment, I have no memory of this, but they recorded the fact that I raised my eyebrows and tried to smile. So obviously I heard them singing. And from that point forward, I began to show more signs of life, began to show more responsive stimuli. Stuff started happening. So I believe a miracle happened, but it was a long process because I didn't officially come out of a comatose state till day 41. At day 41, I came out and the doctor was 100% right. I was not the same person. It was scary. Initially, I had very, very shallow vocab. I was slurred speech. I didn't understand what was going on in the room. And they asked me, gave me a pen, asked me to write my name. I couldn't write my name. I could not write the alphabet. I mean, it was like scary process of just rehabilitation. I had to eventually got out of bed into a wheelchair because I could not walk. Began to do physical therapy in the wheelchair, occupational therapy, speech therapy, cognitive therapy, day in, day out. Just began to get out of bed and go again and get out of bed and go again. And at one point I told my doctors, I want to get out of bed and go as long, hard as I possibly can until I can't go no more, and get back in bed, sleep. And then when I get back up, do it again. They eventually they said, okay, we'll let you do that. So they let me just go until I could go no more, and then let me go back to sleep. And so I was like that for a long time. A lot of therapy, a lot of rest, a lot of restoration, a lot of surgeries to fix the broken bones. But I was hospitalized for 88 straight days. And I don't think I really got to explain to you. That's like being 3 months in prison because you're locked in walls of a hospital. And go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Mindset of survival. Was there a specific moment in your recovery journey when you realized this is going to define me differently than I ever expected?
I think that reality really hit when I went home. 88 straight days. I got to go home. That was great. It was exciting. Going home to reality, right? Because I was not nearly the same man that left that world. So I was just essentially going back to a world that did not know me anymore, and I did not know my world because I was I was not the same person. I was not the athlete that left that world. I was not the businessman that left that world. I was a much different version of myself. I was much more broken. Of course, I've recovered miraculously since then as far as the mental capacity goes. But at that point in time, they figured I was like preteen maturity level. I was like, it was so devastating to realize this is going to be it for me. This is going to be, I'm going to have to make a choice to accept the things I can't change and then press on and keep going. And so I had a sign on the wall by my bed and two Sue signs. One of the signs said, focus on things you can change. And the other sign said, what can I do today a little bit better than I did yesterday? So I was like, I got to have the mindset of every day a little bit better than yesterday, go up, not down, not backwards, but keep going forward. And so that was the defining moment, was going home to a world that I had to relearn again.
Same world, totally different character. That's amazing. Did faith or mindset play in the way you approached adversity during those 88 days in the hospital and beyond?
Well, I mean, mindset is everything, but faith is even more so everything, because for me, I think if you don't have faith in something bigger than you, there's a serious problem in that situation, because if all I have is faith in me, then I'm a disaster, right? My body's wrecked. I can't do it. I can barely get out of bed on my own. I can't do anything anymore, right? But I had a faith in a God that's much bigger than my problems. And so therefore I was able to say, okay, I don't like this. I don't like where I'm at, but I'm not going to stop believing that there's a better future for me. And so I almost refused to believe doctors' prognosis. I would go with what my faith centered soul said. I let God speak to me in my inner soul and tell me how far I could go and if I was done yet, not to give up. And I just kept believing that God could do miracles. And I saw it happen over and over again. And I wasn't rude about it, but I just refused to believe the doctor's prognosis. I was like, okay, that's your professional opinion, but I'm not done yet. I'm going to keep going. And then faith became, when I got home, especially, man, I had to lean on God every single day, just to get out of bed and go again, give again.
Well, I want to digress here. And delve a little bit into your faith, because I don't still practice, but no faith since an ordained minister.
Okay.
But what I do
Me
want
too.
to talk I talk about is what is your religious background? What denomination? What church? Who were influential in your development in faith?
I mean, I'm a non-denominational Christian believer. I don't consider myself to be a Christian as much as I am a Christ follower, because 77% of America calls themselves Christians, right? Now, I'd like to know how many are actually following Christ. But no, I really like, I would say back then I was definitely a Christian when the avalanche happened, but I was just that. I labeled myself as a Christian, but I was not living life to glorify God. I was living life to glorify Matt. And so I was living life to build my own fame, build my own, uh, I guess, legacy and build my own financial assets and everything else. And not necessarily living life to glorify God. And now I live life 100% to glorify God. And I'm just an actor in the process. And so over the years, I mean, John Maxwell was one of my biggest mentors and guiders from a distance. Obviously, I never met him, but read all his books and read all his guidance. And then I've had many pastors and youth leaders and influential people throughout my life the entire time. My dad is a strong man of faith. He was a huge influence in my life. So just a variety. I mean, I just don't see how people can do life without faith. I mean, especially not go through something this significant. Because if there is no God and I'm as big as it gets, that's the end of the story, man. What am I going to believe in? I can't believe in a bigger me. I'm toast.
Exactly. You've spoken about viewing adversity through a different lens.
Yes.
What does that lens look like for you now?
I just know. I think that I hadn't thought about the fact that adversity is something every human being faces, right? And so it's not always a curse. Sometimes it's a gift. I think we tend to look at adversity like always a curse or always a bad thing. But if you look at for the gifts hidden in the midst of it, you'll find them. Adversity in the dictionary is defined as distress, affliction, hardship, an unfortunate event or incident. Well, based upon that dictionary's definition, everybody's going to face some form of distress, affliction, hardship, an unfortunate event or incident, right? Everybody is. So the only question left is if we know we're all going to face it, when we face it, what's going to be our response to it? And so I think knowing that now that every human being is going to face it and what's going to define us is whether we react emotionally or respond logically and with wisdom, because I could have, because my reaction could have easily been to whine, cry, and poor me. It's not fair. I can't believe why this happened to me. It's so dumb. It's not fair, right? That could have been my reaction. I would have dug myself a hole. And the first thing when you find yourself in a hole in life, the first thing you better do is stop digging, right? And so I looked for a way out instead, and I responded, not reacted. Response is preceded by thought, right? It's grounded in faith, and it's I don't like where I'm at. I don't like what's happening to me, but I have to make the best of every situation. I have to at some point accept life how it is because I can't change it, and then make the best of everything I possibly can. So,
Correct. So many people face their own avalanches in life, not just physical ones, life shattering events.
yes.
Do you say to someone who feels buried right now?
I'd say that you're not alone. For one, that a lot of us have felt buried in life, and a lot of us still feel buried on a weekly basis sometimes. Life is tough. There's a lot of things going on. So don't throw stones at yourself if you're buried. Just know that like I said before, the first thing, if you find yourself in a hole in life, the first thing you have to do is pitch the shovel and stop digging, right? You gotta look for a way to climb out. You can't keep digging and digging and go deeper. And also, if there's any one fundamental concept in my entire successful recovery that I always go back to, it's simply focus on things you can change. Because I can't change the avalanche, and you may not be able to change the hole you're in, or the situation you're in, or the adversity around you. So if I know I can't change that, what can I change? I can change my response to it, not change the circumstance itself.
Mhm.
The circumstance doesn't have to define us. We can define the circumstance.
Okay, okay. Now let's talk about the climb back up. Your recovery included learning how to walk, speak, and live again. What's one small but powerful habit of mental shift that helped you push through those hard days?
I think just refusing to dwell on the negative, because I can make a really long list of what's wrong, what I can't do anymore, what I haven't done, and what I won't do, and what the pain I feel and the this and that, right? I can make a long list of that, but all that does produce more of the same. So I had to go, okay, what positive can I find in every single day? What good happened today? What progresses have I made today? What breakthrough happened? And who did I meet? And what opportunities have I been given as a result of being injured? And what good is in this day? Because there is good in every single day if we look for it, but there's also lots of bad in every single day if we look for it, right? So it's a matter
Right,
of what you're
right.
looking for.
You went from author, athlete, manager to motivator. How do you identify the shift through all of this? How did you merge and shift through these different phases?
I think a lot of it is just accepting reality. Not that I have to accept my prognosis or not that I have to camp out and give up, but I have to accept the fact that I'm not going to be an athlete anymore. Simply my paralyzed arm and I can't walk as good as I used to. I can't run anymore. I have no flexibility. My balance is bad. I have to accept all those things as reality. Go, I can't do what I once did. I can't be the athlete I once was. But knowing that's true and knowing that's the fact, what can I do? And so I found out that I can write, I can speak, I can encourage, I can uplift, I can podcast, I can blog, I can do all kinds of things, all these things that I can do that don't require me to be an athlete. And so the first thing is just accepting the fact you can't be the old you, and that's okay. What can you find as the new you? That's what you have to ask
Okay.
yourself.
Right. You mentioned writing with one working hand and no assistance. What was that process like? And what did it teach you of perseverance?
When I first started writing the book, I started writing in an app on my smartphone. Back then, the only smartphones out were a BlackBerry. It was an old school smartphone. But I started that because I was easy to type with one hand, and I didn't have a laptop at the time. I eventually bought a laptop and kept typing. So I was typing with one hand, right? Just pecking it out. I didn't really type it. I pecked it out, peck, 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 peck. But eventually I learned how to type better with one hand. I learned to dance around the keyboard better. And I tried one of those audio apps where you speak into it and it types the words for you. But the problem with that is that medium of writing is a different deal. Like when you speak something versus writing it, it's a completely different organization of thoughts and the way you express yourself. So I found my quantity went up, but the quality of my writing went down. Yep. And so I said, "No, I'm just gonna have to do it." I did not want somebody else to type for me. I wanted to type myself. And so I typed the whole thing out, 184-page book with one hand. So I only have one hand, right? And I just found a way to do it and realized that if you put your mind to something, almost anything is possible if you don't give up and don't let life get you down. Don't let life tell you it's not going to work, and don't believe the lies of the enemy. I believe there's an enemy of our souls who likes to lie to us every single day, and we just got to tell them no. Our God's bigger.
Yes. Now, what is the name of this book?
It's called Two Hands: A Life Radically Changed in 12 Seconds. Because from the time the avalanche fractured, from the time the avalanche fractured to the time I was crushed into the tree and buried was 12 seconds. So my whole life radically changed in 12 seconds.
12 seconds. Okay. And where can my viewers locate and find this book?
You can buy it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Google Books, all over the place. But also my website's probably the best place for me as far as you getting it. But that's mattmotivates.com or liferadicallychange.com. Same website, mattmotivates.com is the easiest one to get to. So
We'll have all your links in the promos and in the show notes so my viewers can get to that. How did your family work through this with you? What impact did this journey have on your role as a husband and a father, Matt?
you know, Unfortunately, I got my life was kind of avalanching in a way. I got a divorce that finalized in November of 2008. Avalanche happened in March of 2009, so just a few months apart. And so I was having to relearn life again as a single father part-time. And so when I came home, I had it was a whole new reality check because I couldn't take care of my boys like I wanted to. I couldn't be with them like I wanted to. And fortunately, their mom was awesome about helping me see them, helping me be around them. And eventually I had to fight. In fact, there's a very good chance I'm working right now with a movie production company. There's a possibility a movie will come out about my story, and that the story is going to be about that, about the journey of trying to be dad again. My whole motivation the entire time was God, give me the strength to give my boys their daddy back. I want to give my boys their daddy back. And so readjusting to all that was a serious adjustment because I have one arm and I can't run, I can't move, I can't pick my kids up anymore, all those things, so.
Wow, amazing. Life, laughter, and a legacy. Humor seems to be a big part of how people describe you. Has laughter been a weapon in your fight through adversity?
Most definitely. I have a really good sense of humor, and I make jokes about myself mostly. I make the best jokes, the ones you make about yourself, right? And I'd laugh about my one arm, and I laugh about my bent neck, and I laugh about my ability to walk and to drag my leg, things like that, right? You have to, because if you can't laugh at yourself, then you're gonna find for lots of reasons to hate yourself.
Mhm. In your motivational speaking, what part of your story resonates most with your audiences?
I think a big part of it is just what we just talked about, the fact that I had to come back to my world and learn to live again, and and also during the recovery process, the fact that I had one chance to get my recovery right, that I wouldn't do want to look back when I'm older saying, man, I wish I'd have put more time in my recovery, right? Wish I'd have tried harder. In fact, one of the quotes I always use a lot of times when I speak is by Jim Rohn. He's one of America's foremost business philosophers. He once said this. He said, "In life, we all must face one of two pains: the pain of discipline, or the pain of regret." Then he goes on to say, "The difference is discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons." And so I ask my audience, and ask myself all the time, "Are you going to face ounces or tons?"
Tons, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. If you could go back to Matt on the mountain right before the avalanche, what would you tell him?
Knowing what I know now, I would tell him the best thing could ever happen to you, my friend, is to almost lose your life and have to rebuild yourself as a new man. I would never want to go back to being that old Matt, even if I got my left arm back, my athletic ability back, my status back, my money back. If you handed me that Matt on a plate and said I could take him, I would shatter that plate on the floor and say, no, thank you. That's not the one I want to be anymore.
Amazing. Amazing.
It's very true. I would not go back even if I could. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be that Matt. I like this Matt.
Yeah, that
This
Matt. Yeah,
Matt's better.
okay. Okay, great. Today, when adversity shows up in your life, because it still does, we face adversity every day in life. How do you respond differently than you did 15 years ago?
I think I don't laugh in the face of adversity because I don't think anybody does. But I'm only go, hold on, draw back, take a breath. Now, sometimes just taking the breath in the moment, going, all right, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Let me respond to this, not react to it. I'm gonna make a lot better decision if I think about it logically versus just thinking about it emotionally, right? And so I think just drawing back, and pausing in the moment, going, all right, what can I change about this and what can't I change about this? In fact, one of the things that I've implemented in my family years ago, and on accident, I just did a podcast on this last week called the 5-5-5 rule. Is I say, is this going to matter in 5 minutes? And a lot of times it might, but is it going to matter in 5 hours? A lot of times it won't. Is it going to matter in 5 days? The 5-5-5 rule, because a lot of times it won't matter at all in 5 days. And so if it's not going to matter in 5 days, it's not worth wrecking my life over it.
Now, what's the name of your podcast show and how often do you publish your shows?
It's called Monday Morning Minutes with Matt. It's published every Monday morning. It's about 3 to 5 minutes long. Just a quick little thought to start your week with. It's on my Facebook page and on YouTube and on my Facebook profile page as well, and on LinkedIn too. But it's called Monday Morning Minutes with Matt.
We'll have links to that. And how difficult was getting into this whole podcasting thing for you? Because I started off in audio, and audio was very, very, complicated for me. And then I made the jump to
Yeah.
video. And, this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's far more work than a lot of people think. And my shows generally go from 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes longer actually. But you do the same amount of work just doing a 3 to 5 minute podcast. I mean, how?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, how? How did you navigate all of that, with your condition?
In the very beginning, I just did audio podcasts because I didn't know how to use video cameras or that kind of stuff, know nothing about lights. Once I realized I want to go video because it's a pretty big medium nowadays, I just did some Googling and found out what kind of lights I should use. And you might notice I got a green screen behind me. I usually have a background on it. And I just learned how to use a green screen, learned how to mainly just Google it. The dummies just Google everything, figure it out for yourself, right?
This is still technical. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh
it
yeah.
depends on how how deep you. I have a podcast console, my laptop, then Sony camera, and getting all that stuff interfaced and going. It can be something else. You've worked in finance, mentorship, ministry, and more. How do all these roles play into your mission of helping others do life better?
I think that's just it right there. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Is my mission is to help people do life better, and so because I have a lot of experience, in a lot of different roles, I am able to really find people where they're at. I can sit by somebody's hospital bed and encourage them right where they're at because I've laid in their bed before, right? I can go to somebody's business world and I can encourage them because I've been successful in business and I've had failures and I've had good days and bad days and so I can coach them through that. And I go sit with a kid in a school because I get it. I played sports and I've coached sports. I've been around sports. I've been around kids my whole life. And so I think God deliberately gave me a lot of touches and a lot of areas of life to experience so that I can reach people and meet people where they're at and connect with them.
Hey, down, winding down in the show, coming into that part of the show I call flip mode, where you get to ask me three questions. Hit me with the three questions, man.
Let's see. What was your childhood like? Where'd you grow up? Where were you born?
I
All
grew
that kind of
up in
stuff.
Reading. Reading, it's about an hour west of Philadelphia. When I grew up, it was a very, very nice town. I mean, we ran outside, we played all day. You didn't have to worry about,
Right.
any
Me
of the
too.
craziness
Yeah.
of the world today. We go outside and play, but you had to be back home before the street lights came on.
Yeah.
And I had a mother, I had a stepfather, and two sisters. I had a great childhood.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it was mostly a blue collar town. People worked, at various manufacturing facilities or steel mills or whatever else. But overall, it was a great childhood. In Pennsylvania, graduated from high school. So,
Nice. Where did faith come in for you? At what age?
well, faith came in at a very early age for us because even though my mother didn't attend church, I come from a family of preachers. My grandfather was a preacher, and my great grandfather was a preacher.
It's awesome.
Even though my mom wasn't going to church at that time, she made me and my sister go to church every Sunday. And so back during that time, that wasn't weird. That wasn't odd. At
No,
that
no, that was very
time,
common. Yeah.
it was very common. Even if your parents didn't go to church, you as children went to church every Sunday.
Right.
So,
Right.
and that helped with the moral stability of society. And I
Right.
believe
Right.
that's one of the things we're missing
100%.
today.
100%. Absolutely. 100%. I was the same way. I grew up. My dad was a pastor growing up. And then I actually was actually a founding pastor of a church here after the avalanche. And I'm still in the ministry a little bit. And so,
What's the name of that church?
well, it's not going anymore. Another pastor took it over and changed the name of it, but was called New Bridges Community Church. New Bridges Community Church in the small town I live in, Orofino, Idaho.
Okay, Idaho. Away from Idaho. Okay. Okay, and what is your last question?
If you had to pick one word to describe Carl, what is it? What is it? What is the best word to describe you? That's gonna make it tough on
Yeah, that makes it. The Bible says that no man is good, only God. I do believe that there are good people, and I do believe there are people with good intentions. And then after that, you kind of go into this gray to dark area.
Right.
I would say that I'm a person with good intentions.
Good.
I'm not a good person. I'm a person with good intentions. I like to help people. I like to help the struggling, those who are downtrodden.
That's great.
I have a strong moral conviction. I have a nonprofit. We help individuals around overseas. So I have good intentions, and
Good for you. Good.
that's how I define myself. Some final takeaways. What's one message or mindset you hope every listener walks away with today?
I think if I could pick one thing I'll get to give it, I would hope it would be focus on things you can change. Because man, in life, if you just harness your time, harness your energy, harness your effort, and focus it only on areas you can change, I think it could radically change your life. Because a lot of us waste time, energy, passion, emotion on things we cannot change.
Correct. Can people connect with you, hear you speak, or grab your books? We already went through that. But
Yeah.
do you have any upcoming speaking engagements or anything else like that?
I have just a few of the local manufacturing plants, things like that. But I have and then a couple churches, but nothing big yet. But I'd love to come to your church. I'd love to come to your business organization. I do business meetings. I do safety meetings, on the job safety meetings. Lots of schools. I love schools. It's an incredible message for schools. So if you want to get me plugged in, man, I'd love to be part of that.
Yeah.
So,
Once again, I'm in the process of moving to my organization and everything to Puerto Rico. They have an area over in Puerto Rico, Ponce, where not only did they have Hurricane Maria, but after Hurricane Maria struck, then they had an earthquake there.
yeah, wow.
And so there's a lot of just destroyed buildings and things of that nature there, and earthquake damage. Up until uh, mm, this year, USAID had over $1 billion in grant money, which was never distributed because, you know, since Puerto Rico's a territory, the paperwork necessary to
Right,
get the
right.
funds to the people there, it was just so difficult that a lot of them couldn't navigate that. So I'm hoping to move to Puerto Rico and start doing some things and some events, and hopefully we can get you over there
Love
and
it, man. It'd be great.
have you talk to some people and help us out there.
Love to just reach out.
Now, what does it mean to you, Matt, personally, to live an all about us life?
I think that all about us. I think just like I'm just trying to think about that. So, I mean, if you live life all about me, then you're never gonna have enough. You're never gonna feel satisfied. You're never gonna feel like you've have arrived, right? Because you're trying to build something you can't build. But we were never meant to do life alone. If we were meant to do life alone, God would have left Adam by himself in the garden, right? So we're meant to do life together. And so I think just it means just doing life together. That means that's all about us and what can we accomplish together. Think about that we are going to accomplish a lot more than me. That's the bottom line. And so what we can impact the world a lot more as a group than we can as an individual.
That's true. That's true. Well, Matt, I just want to thank you. Prior to the shows, I don't even read my guests to read about my guests. I don't look at their photos. I don't look at the scripts. I just kind of like things to be very organic and spontaneous. And this show here was much more than I ever anticipated. I want to really thank you for sharing your story and living out your purpose in such a dynamic way. You've turned unimaginable pain into a platform, and I know so many people listening today are going to walk away inspired. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. I mean, this here is an incredible show. It's very moving for me as the host. If today's conversation moved you, encouraged you, or gave you something to think about, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Send them to Matt's links. Buy his book. Read about his struggle. Support and invest him in what he's doing. Until the next time, I'm Carl Allen, and this has been all about us.